I'd say that in this last year and a half, we've sort of had a peek into what music is going to become, and what the role that the right kind of radio can play in that. And it's one where you have an audience that is starting to participate, and you have a class of musicians that are sort of getting back in the game. And as I sort of think about how do I characterize this, how would you sort of describe this? I think there are two important components. The first one is the idea that relevance is a sort of new name of the game. So when a song gets played for you, it's getting played not because someone paid for you to hear it, not because you belong to a specific demographic or are part of a target group or somebody, but because the song is specifically the kind of stuff that you like. So relevance is the key. And when you do that, the listener becomes a center of gravity. So you are now, music is coming to find you based on your expressed musical preferences. You are really the center of gravity now. You put that all together, what you have is an engaged audience. You are clearly a great example of that. That's participating, that's curating their listening experience, it's buying music, and a lot of that way down the long tail. And you have on the other side of that this sort of newly empowered class of musicians. So these are many musicians who before didn't have any kind of access to a mass audience. They're actually now sort of part of the equation after sort of being left out in the cold. There's one small problem to this, which is that as great as this last year has been for Pandora, as large as we think we are, when you step back and put us in the context of radio in general, we're 0.1%. We're just not big players yet. And so you got to think back to all these numbers I put up here, and imagine all that times 1,000. Currently on Pandora in the last year, there are 9,000 artists who had a song spun 10,000 or more times to a listener who likes that specific kind of music. You multiply it by 1,000, we're talking about 9,000 artists who've had 10 million spins to listeners who like that kind of music. And I think that is, imagine that world. I mean, as a musician, that gives me goosebumps. I think about, a potential musician's middle class coming out of this. And also bringing music back into the culture, of this country and hopefully around the world, because audiences are actually getting what they want. So the real question is, how do we get from that little blue speck on that big yellow radio globe to be something much bigger? And that really is the focus of tonight. So I'm going to hand off this little guy to our CTO, Tom Conrad, who has been wonderfully guiding the engineering effort at Pandora for the last, I guess, 3 years now, and has seen the sort of creation of Pandora, and is now tonight, I think, has the honor to introduce to you and the world a whole new set of products that are going to start to take us there. So, Tom Conrad. Thanks, Tom.
Isn't Tim amazing? I have heard him talk about the founding of the company many times, and still sort of in awe of everything that we went through. This is an incredibly exciting night for us, and I'm really glad that all of you could be here to join us. About 3 years, the product team got started on what would become Pandora.com. And since then, we've put all kinds of energy into improving the service, from things like better playlists, which we're constantly working on, to new features like Quick Mix, new kinds of music like Latin music, community features. We've done all kinds of things. But about a year ago, we started on a really huge undertaking, a kind of secret technology project that we haven't been able to talk about until tonight. And I think it's something that fundamentally changes Pandora's potential and also changes our place in the radio universe. So a year ago, secret project, can talk about it for the first time tonight, and it's something that we call the Pandora Everywhere platform. This is an entirely new technology base for us that unleashes Pandora from the desktop and allows us to deliver Pandora to any device using any music format over wired networks, over wireless networks, not just to the 6.8 million people who listen to Pandora.com, but to the tens of millions of people who listen to radio every day, while maintaining the same simple Pandora experience that you've come to know at the website. Okay, so we call it the Everywhere platform, but where specifically? Let's talk about some places. Let's start by talking about Pandora in your home. Sure, maybe you can go listen to your computer in your office or something, but that's not really the in-home experience. And about a year ago, we put together a partnership with this fantastic company called Slim Devices. They recently became a Logitech company that allows you to, using this nifty remote control, enjoy Pandora from your couch. And the reaction from our listeners and from the Slim Devices customers was incredibly positive. In fact, we quickly became the most popular, most listened to music service on the Slim Devices family of products. And it became my favorite way to listen to Pandora. There's nothing cooler to me than being able to just hit a button and have the music stream into the living room. So what about the rest of the house? What if you want to fill every room with digital music? Well, there's one company that's at the forefront of these kind of whole home solutions, and that company is Sonos. We feel the same way. And I'm delighted to announce that the Sonos team is the first to take the Pandora Everywhere platform and put it to use. And they've built a kind of whole home Pandora solution. And so I think the thing to do now is maybe give you a quick demo of how that works. So the Sonos experience is centered around the Sonos controller. And the way this works is you put these base stations throughout your home, connect speakers to them. The base stations talk wirelessly to each other to move music around, and you control the whole thing from this remote control. In fact, it's at this big, beautiful display, and we're projecting it up here on the screen tonight so you can actually see what I'm doing on the controller on the screen. One little thing I want to point out, when I picked this up, the screen automatically lit up. It actually has a little motion detector in it. And this is just the kind of attention to detail that Sonos has brought to the entire experience. And it's part of what makes them a really great fit for us, because we care about these little things too. So let's see, to set the stage here a little bit, imagine that this is my rather stark kitchen. And over there across the stage, that's the dining room. And there in the back of the house, maybe that's the living room. So let's see what it takes to put a little music on. So maybe I'm making dinner, I want some jazz. I pull up the Sonos remote. I navigate to my Pandora library. The Pandora Everywhere platform delivers all my stations right to the controller. I've got just 3 tonight. But if I had 100 at Pandora.com, they'd all be present here. Any change that I make at Pandora.com is immediately reflected on the Sonos controller. Any change that I make on the controller immediately reflected at Pandora.com. So this is one universal experience.